It's time. Have I not watched this? Gotta be Speedy!
Sonic, baby! I love Sonic. I'm not ashamed to admit it. This is one of my personal favorite video game franchises. And it's kind of crazy to think Sonic was one of the first big franchises to dare to rival the, at the time, powerhouse Nintendo had with Mario. And while Mario is definitely arguably the more consistent series, you gotta give it to Sonic. If it weren't for Sonic, I could say that there probably weren't a lot of companies that would have the balls to compete with Nintendo. Can you imagine an alternate universe without the PlayStation, without the Xbox? Sonic made sure that that couldn't happen, and to this day, the franchise, though it has some serious issues throughout the decades, has pumped out both great 2D and 3D games. And with only half a month left of 2024, it's hard to believe the upcoming third film is up there with Deadpool and Wolverine as one of the most hyped films of 2024. It's kind of funny that last year was the year of Mario with the Mario movie and Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and this year is most definitely the year of Sonic, with not only the Knuckles miniseries on Paramount Plus and the aforementioned third hybrid animated film, but a completely kinda new experience with Sonic X Shadows Generate. Are you kidding me? That's the name they chose? And with Sonic 3 hitting theaters soon, it makes sense to look at something nobody ever really thinks about. Underrated Sonic. With most Sonic projects, I only ever hear it's the best or worst Sonic thing out there. But what about the projects nobody ever talks about? The ones that fall in between the cracks. So today, I want to shine some light on 10 Sonic projects nobody ever talks about. I say projects as this doesn't just pertain to games. This can be a show, or for one entry, a movie.
And we just got to 2K? What? I'm gonna take the mask off. That was the one goal I wanted at the end of the year, and you guys made it happen. And if you like the content, please subscribe if you're new. Don't call me a sellout.
I wanted to start with one of the shows, as I do feel like, thanks to Sad AM, most of the shows outside of it haven't gotten that much attention. And such, my number 10 pick is Sonic Prime. This is a fairly new series, and the reason that I put it at the bottom of the ranking is because I do feel it was made for younger audiences, whereas you could watch the other shows as an adult and find enjoyment. But that's not to call Sonic Prime bad. The show follows Sonic in a multiverse story, which, yeah, those can kind of be lame, but it's fun to watch these characters in these alternate universes. Also, Devin Christian Mack, I approve as Sonic. So what happened with the show? It seems it had a very rough release schedule and almost nobody knows about it. So why is that? Well, guess what Red In you can blame for this show not finding an audience? Oh yeah, I probably should have mentioned, this is a Netflix series, which as you know are either really well thought out and interesting or big mouth. And obviously, Netflix picks and chooses which originals they give attention to. Case in point, Inside Job getting 2 seasons, Disenchantment getting 5. I haven't seen any advertisement for this show, so yeah, no surprise it never found an audience. Fuck you, Netflix. Release another season of the most boring reality show known to man.
My crazy cramps get really bad.
Oh my god, shut the up!
The show is admittedly very clearly made for younger audiences in mind, but if you get a chance, check it out.
How did you get in here?
You left the door open.
Smash.
As I mentioned in a past video, most of the games released between 2006 and 2017 were pretty bad. Sonic 06, Rise of Lyric, the Storybook duology, and one that I defended a bit was Sonic Forces. And honestly, even today, I mean, it's not perfect and way too short, but come on! The biggest issue is that it is as short as it is, and it felt like the gimmick of it all was the character creation. I made a wolf in my video. Please, for the love of God, let this guy back whisper.
Oh, Baba, you could whisper on my wolf. What the fuck?
Sonic Forces, however, delivers pretty much what I want out of a modern Sonic game. That is to say, it's not ungodly awful. It's just kind of standard. Like I said, it being so short makes it a bit of a ripoff considering how much this game costs, but if you look into it, I believe you get a decent time. Yeah, it's kind of funny that the third movie is going to be such a big event considering the history of the first film. After a god-awful trailer teasing a late 2019 release, the internet doing the impossible of bullying Paramount into redoing the Sonic design, I find it funny that somehow the internet doing that actually led to here. We of course had this, the second film of 2022, this upcoming film, like really upcoming film. I'm writing this on December 14th, I am hyped! All of that, and it's crazy to think the first film almost never gets talked about. Yeah, for the crazy shit that happened with it, you'd think the first film was more recognized. I mean, nobody I know hates it, but it is strange that of all the films, the first film kinda just exists. And I can see why people forgot about it. It is essentially a buddy road trip film with Sonic just thrown in. But that doesn't mean the film is bad by any means. Actually, I really enjoy it. I think Ben Schwartz is a good Sonic, He's no Roger Craig Smith, but his voice fits very well with the character. Obviously, Jim Carrey is great. I think it's fair to say him coming out of retirement not once but twice shows just how much he enjoys these movies. And I'm gonna say it, I like the part most people hate about this movie, the humans. Sure, it adds to the idea that there was really no reason for this film to have Sonic in it, but I like James Marsden, I like Tika Sumpter. I think Tom and Maddie really add something to the overall experience. I don't think they're especially great, but also remember this could have just been like Jason Lee and Alvin and the Chipmunks, or Neil Patrick Harris and the Smurfs, or wait, James Marsden and Hop, I completely forgot he was in that. There's been way worse added human characters in these kinds of movies, and I'm glad they aren't really that cringy. For everything else, though it led to something way better, the first Sonic movie was a good stepping stone.
Whoa!
Oh, my golden ring! Santa! Are you okay? Can I get a pic?
Oh no!
Another one I discussed in my last Sonic video, Sonic Colors is one of the games that I usually discuss with the bad era of Sonic. But unlike Generations, which is often seen as a good game, I've heard people say this is either a forgettable Sonic game or one of the worst. How? When these games exist, somehow Sonic Colors is bad? I guess I have a bias considering I'm playing the Ultimate Edition on Steam, but I found this game absolutely a blast. The best thing about the game is that it controls beautifully. Everything just moves with such a flow that I can get into what I'm doing. Each of the abilities having different effects throughout the levels was also a nice touch, especially at a time where people associate Sonic games with having a single gimmick to sell the whole game. Sonic Colors, however, is just fun, purebred fun. It doesn't feel like a chore to do these other things to progress, everything moves very naturally and the gameplay offers a lot of variety. If I had one issue, I do feel the bonus material here isn't as strong as other entries. I think 1 or 2 levels could get a bit hectic.
With that being said, this is probably one of my favorite Sonic games. So, color.
Okay, so I think most Sonic fans will agree Sonic Boom was one of the worst things to happen in the franchise's history. With some of the jankiest games in the entire lineup, character redesigns that made no sense, overall empty games that offered less than other bad Sonic entries, and amongst one of the worst games of all time, Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric on the Wii U. The show is really fucking funny. This show ran on Cartoon Network in the mid-2010s, and strangely, where the games try so hard to be something different, the show is very laid back and, as many have mentioned, very self-aware. The show's humor is different from the other Sonic cartoons, as it was able to be weird, over the top, and kinda silly, while also mixing in some good self-aware jokes. Some of my favorites include when Sonic gets Tomatopotamus 2.
Tomatopotamus never worked in 3D.
Game companies always ruin their beloved franchises.
They never should have changed the color of Tomatopotamus's legs.
Oh my God!
It's so weird that Sega, of all companies, are aware of the hate and kinda just go along with it. Another one is this scene with Eggman in the shower.
Is this a towel?
What am I supposed to cover with that? Are you making fun of me? Now everyone's gonna know about my secret egg dick.
And of course, the probably biggest fourth wall break of all time.
Oops, one too many.
But above all else, my favorite Sonic character has to be Styx. I have no idea where this character came from or her origins, but she is one of my favorite things to come out of any Sonic project. She's paranoid, she's loud yet not obnoxious, and she's voiced by Nika Futterman. I think the one thing I can say is, the first season's pretty lame. It's still got funny moments, but you can tell the first season tried to actually be a cartoon, while the second season onwards tried to be what it's known for, self-aware humor and silly scenarios. It's so weird that with how much people absolutely hate Sonic Boom, the Cartoon Network show was the best thing to come from it. If you like good jokes and occasionally great writing, you'll definitely get into this.
Yeah, what else are you gonna do, huh? Play Rise of Lyric? I didn't think so. Pussy.
With most mainline Sonic games either being forgettable or even hated, you might think the same pertains to Sonic Frontiers, which released in 2022. No, I don't think it does. Sonic Frontiers isn't my favorite Sonic game, but it's certainly a good time. And one of the best things about the game is the fact that it's controllable. While it took a while to get these controls down, I am admittedly used to the PS2 controls, and I played this on my Xbox Series S Digital Edition. I had fun with this. The story admittedly tries to dive a bit into Sonic Forces territory and being too dark. That was admittedly one of the issues I had with Sonic Forces, but I do like that this is a different look for Sonic. It doesn't have a lot of bright colors until about halfway through, it really fits the theme of the game. But yeah, I have one issue, and it's not even bad, it's just kind of annoying because every bad open world game does it. The open world itself, while it's cool to see in Sonic, is too damn empty. I kept saying, am I playing Star Wars Outlaws in a Sonic game? This feels wrong. But Sonic Frontiers is a solid Sonic game. I dare say it's one of the more overlooked games. Maybe it's because of when it came out, or maybe it had something to do with the second film coming out that year. I don't know, but I definitely recommend it. When it's on sale, do not pay $60 for this game. $60 for a Sonic game is horse shit.
God damn it, Bill Gates.
Throughout the entire movie universe, I feel like the idea of them doing different spin-offs might be smart. Hell, if they decide to do a Sega Cinematic Universe, I mean, I'm not trying to watch the Super Monkey Ball movie, but I think them doing a Knuckles show was smart. I know the show got mixed reception when it released on Paramount Plus this year, but in my mind, I feel that added fuel to this. It's not as impressive as the movie, sure, but for being a Knuckles miniseries, I feel a lot of people don't really pay attention to this enough. I think Wade was a perfect human character choice. He's the one human character that wasn't that great in the movies. So giving him more personality, which is surprisingly easy to do with Adam Paley, was a smart move on the filmmakers. But other than that, Knuckles is just charming. I think Idris Elba is having a blast voicing this character, and the show proves it. Does it have problems? Sure, it's not as deep and well played out as the movies, but if you enjoy Knuckles as a character, you'll get a decent miniseries. If you have Paramount Plus, definitely check this one out.
Father, you can't leave me.
I won't, son. I never. No!
Among the various Sonic shows that either received positive reception or negative, I never really heard a full-on opinion on Sonic X. This was an anime-style series that ran in the early 2000s, and the closest I've heard to a consensus from the community for the longest time was that it wasn't great. And since I'm not the biggest anime fan, I guess I could see why that would be. But that being said, I learned to really like this show. Sonic X has a lot of good storytelling and decent humor. Something I always liked was how natural it felt that Sonic was just in this world. It reminds me that he does just go to normal human worlds, both in the games and hell, even the movie. And Super Sonic is always a pleasure to see no matter how many times we see him. If I had one issue, I don't like Chris. Remember how I said it would have been easy for the human characters in the movies to be forgettable or bland? That's because Chris is one of the single most boring characters in Sonic history. He is a blank fucking slate. He has no personality. And every time they try to give him personality or even a character, it feels like he just gets pushed to the background because it's called Sonic X, not Chris X.
Fuck you, Chris!
Honestly, Sonic fans who have never seen this show might get a good kick out of it. I found it insanely entertaining, and to me, it worked way better than I expected.
Message for you. Here you go.
Sonic!
That theme song could seduce me if it had a body. Sonic Heroes. Among the games in the transitional era for Sonic, aka its transition period to 3D, Sonic Heroes is one of the games that often gets swept under the rug. And I'm sorry, I think that's total bullshit. This game is mad fun. Admittedly, it offers a lot of the same issues as most of these older 3D Sonic games. Somewhat janky controls, gameplay that feels more like it was designed to raise my blood pressure, and overall annoying sound design. But man, it's fun! These levels are very creative. I like the ocean level we started on, I like the casino level, despite me dying more here than any other level in the game. I think for the most part, this game is pivotal to Sonic, because while the characters like Team Chaotix, Rouge the Bat, Big the Cat were all characters in past projects, it gave them more personality and life. Again, the issues are there, but this is amongst my favorite Sonic games, period. And before we get to our last pick, here are some honorable mentions. Sonic Underground. I think I mostly agree with the people who say the show isn't good, but it has small charms that don't make up for the problems the show has, but definitely makes the show a little more tolerable compared to others at the time. Sonic Generations. I think my main reason for not including this game was simply, I feel Sonic Generations is more seen as overall good by the community. Due to the recent release of Sonic X Shadow, Sega, you know what you did. Sonic Adventure. Hear me out. I think Sonic Adventure 1 was very much overshadowed by what many consider the peak of Sonic, Sonic Adventure 2. But I do think there's good stuff in here, and it started the trend of 3D Sonic games.
You bastard!
Team Sonic Racing. I like this game, but it's not really a game I consider underrated.
My list, not yours. Ha ha ha! One!
Yeah, so, has anyone heard of this game? As of what I've heard, nobody ever discusses it. And when I bring it up to Sonic fans, they usually either don't know what it is or just say, yeah, I've played it, it's cute. It's unironically one of the best Sonic games of the last decade. No joke, this is a very creative and very well thought out visual novel. A genre I never thought Sonic could tackle. It's exactly what it says it is. It's a murder mystery and Sonic's the victim. You go to different characters and find clues to prove their alibis. It's way simpler than any of the other Sonic games, but the change of pace and story are actually really interesting. And with twist after twist, it becomes clear that the people behind this game not only cared, but were passionate about the game they were working on, regardless of how small and simple it was. I will say, traditional Sonic fans probably won't like this, but it being so simple and yet such a fun time makes it a genuine favorite for me. But the best part, it was an April Fool's joke from Sega last year. Yeah, this was not meant to be a canon game at all. It was just little haha jokes on you, actual peak is coming next year. But for being something that probably didn't have a lot of attention on it, I give Sega full credit, it's very fun. For me, this is my most underrated Sonic project that has ever happened. It is insane to me that in a few short days, we will see one of the biggest releases of 2024, Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Remember when the first movie was ridiculed and absolutely pulled apart due to its awful first design on Sonic? We got here because of that. Without that muck-up, we would have never seen Shadow, Gerald Robotnik, hell, we wouldn't have even seen Knuckles or Tails. We went from the thing that Disney made fun of with a movie that, eat my dick, is not that good, to a film that everyone is excited to see. People are excited to see Sonic 3. Could you tell that to anyone after they just watched the first Mario movie from 1993? Hey, at some point, Sonic the Hedgehog is going to have a hyped film.
Yeah, right.
But it's true. We found a way to have this be one of the penultimate releases of the year. I think the film I can compare to Sonic 3 from 2023 in terms of hype was f***ing Across the Spider-Verse. And if this movie becomes as popular as we're thinking it will be, what does that mean for the future of video game movies? People are starting to take these somewhat way more seriously. They're becoming big blockbusters, and if this film succeeds, things will only get bigger and better for the Blue Hedgehog.
Well, kids, remember, Sonic says, if you stitch, you a bitch, you get stitched.